Hello everyone, welcome to my session How to Code-Dojo. In this session I will tell you what a Code-Dojo is and share my experiences about this form of training type. I will talk about the following topics. First, a few sentences about me, myself and I, why we started to do Code-Dojos. I will give you a short overview what a Code-Dojo looks like and give you some examples of programming tasks. At the end, I will tell you what we learned about programming in a Code-Dojo and what you should know to start your own dojo. About me. This is me. In this case, testing the photo box I built for our community events. I'm an SAP programmer since 1995 and started with SAP script development on a 2.1i release. Currently, I'm an employee of the SAP consulting company Inwerken, based in Hanover, Germany. I'm married, have 2 kids, a dog, a cat, a house, and I love programming and badminton. Together with 4 colleagues, I wrote the ABAP Kochbuch. I'm organizer of the SAP Inside Track in Hanover. Oh, did I say SAP Inside Track? I love this format and I'm very happy that in these times an SAP online track was created. A big thanks at this point to the organizers of this SAP online track, Jakob, Ronny, Anne, Kata, David, Srikant. Thank you very much. Also many thanks to all the speakers and participants. The SAP community has become an amazing family. Back to me. You can find me on the web on Twitter, GitHub, in the SAP community at blogs.sap.com. I run my own website tricktresor.com since 2003, where I write down tricks, code, and other hopefully helpful things concerning SAP development. The main question is, why do we do Code-Dojos? Well, I've seen many work spots. I don't know if this word exists, but I think it is a good word to express a lot of my feelings in SAP programming. Sometimes any code works somehow. Mostly, if it works, no one asks for more. Let me show you some examples of the real world to illustrate what I mean. It works, but please, this is not meant to be used like this. This, transferred to programming terms, is a very poor code quality. I don't want to see this. It works, but if your code looks like this, and I've seen many codings like this, then something went wrong. Maybe something that you would not have done if you knew better from the beginning. Maybe you think, next time I'm here I will clean up this mess. No, you won't. It works, but you might have some serious issues. These might be security issues as well as performance aspects you might not be aware of. If you're in a Code-Dojo, there might be the chance that your colleagues raise their hands and say, no, please don't do that, because whatever. It works, but why the heck is another part of the process not running anymore? From the other side of the wall, everything is okay, but not here. There might be some implications you cannot foresee, but there are some you can, and these you might learn in a Code-Dojo. So the reasons for doing Code-Dojos are versatile. Even if you're an experienced programmer, you might never have programmed a tree control, a search shape, created a Dynpro, or built a factory method. Often very simple things if you know how to do it. If simple things are done the wrong way, then the result is very weird, thus means hard to understand, confusing, and hard to maintain. I wanted to make sure that we don't mess around with simple things so that we can concentrate on the important issues. I also wanted to increase the code quality. If all you have is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. Even if you have a nail and a hammer, you might have the wrong nail or the wrong hammer. In a Code-Dojo, you have a lot of chances to improve your skills, share your knowledge, and add tools to your daily repertoire. Learning from colleagues in a casual atmosphere is highly productive. At least you have fun, learn things, and became a better programmer. Okay, so let's talk about what is a Code-Dojo at all. A dojo is a Japanese training room for practicing martial arts like karate, jujutsu, taekwondo, and so on. In these dojos, or wherever you want, the contestants train katas. A kata is an exercise of a defined sequence of movements. In this way, you train your body to do the right things in a real fight. You can do katas on your own, but mostly they are practiced in a group. So you can imagine what that means transferred to software development. I learned that you should program in a language that differs from your language you develop at work. We do different, and I'll explain why. In the group, the katas are trained in pair programming, mob programming, or everybody for himself. If you try to solve a given task in a fixed time. The participation in a Code-Dojo is voluntary. At Inwerken, I decided to program in ABAP. There are so many aspects that there's no need to switch to a different language. Mostly we are 3 to 10 persons and we solve SAP-related programming tasks. Some are fun tasks, I tell you later about it, and some are serious exercises for common SAP problems. We meet every week and we started with 90 minutes doing Code-Dojo. Then about a year ago we switched to 2 hours, and last week we did remote mob programming. We decided to code 4 hours, but only every 2 weeks. How can Code-Dojo help me? Well, can Code-Dojo help me to get better? Yes, it can. The safety zone. Do you remember the Japanese dojo room at the beginning? This is the room to practice. You can experiment, you can make errors, you can ask for help. That gives you the room to learn new things. You should use this safety zone to do things that you normally don't do. Do things where you think that you have no time in your daily work. Stop if you do something automatically and you know there's a different way. If you don't use Eclipse in your daily life, do it at the Code-Dojo. If you are here to learn, the time is yours. If you use this safe room in your reserved time, you will get better. You will learn new key commands, new functions, methods, and tricks. Even if you just look over the shoulder of your colleague, you will learn. In my opinion, it's a great way to improve one's programming skills and gain more knowledge. If you learned something new, write it down. Create a diary where the team describes what they have done. If you need something, you might not remember how it worked, but you remember that you did it at a Code-Dojo. Search through this blog and you will find the solution. This could be the start of an internal knowledge base. At Inwerken, we use SharePoint with a specific list and also a wiki. Now some examples of what topics, issues, or tasks you can deal with in a Code-Dojo. Techniques. Just define that everyone has to use Eclipse. Even if one person is busy with installing the ABAP development tools the whole session, the first step is done. The next time he can use Eclipse. Write unit tests, use interfaces, use inheritance. Talk about design pattern and find out about the advantages and disadvantages. Make excessive use of exception classes. Discuss one new ABAP feature every week. But what tasks can be solved? Well, there are hundreds and hundreds of them. There are katas in the web. Some can be easily adapted to ABAP, some others are not. You will find out. Use problems of your daily working life. Use the massive amount of SAP integrated tools like maintenance views, view clusters, smart forms, and queue mechanisms, Barbie calls, and so on. The following examples are SAP specific. They are related to typical SAP controls or SAP functionalities that can be trained. Search helps is a very important topic. Often it works automatically. But do you know why? How can you influence the result? Have you ever tried to add icons to your search result? Or an extra field? What about search help exits? there's a lot to explore. Maintenance view are the tool for customizing tables. Have you done more than just clicking create? Which possibilities do you have to change the behavior? Have you ever used events for manipulating data, doing extra checks, or applying authority checks? If not, the CodeDojo is the perfect place to do. Trees can be very useful and are also very hard to program. There are different types of tree models and the usage might be a challenge. In this task, we just selected some materials and grouped them by material type. Find out which tree model fits best, which advantages and disadvantages they have. You can also try recursive programming. Here are some examples of what you can do with general programming logics. Generic programming. In this case, the task was to create an internal table with some fields of the material master and select the display some of the material data. You might not often use the creation of internal tables, but it's good if you know how it works. Refactoring. Everyone knows the old scrappy SAP demonstration reports which work but which are programmed in a way we don't want to see in our code. So we took an old SAP demo program for displaying a picture and refactored it. We also refactored a productive class. We took a class in development that generally worked and tried to refactor it. It is productive, but it can be made better. We ask questions like, is this name really okay for this method? Can I create a new method for this code? Do I need setter and getter methods? Or are all member attributes necessary, or can they be set to local? Unit tests. Damir Meyer, an SAP developer from Munich, hey Damir, created an ABAP koan for unit tests. A koan is simply a problem to solve. You get hints for what is not working, then you have to find out how to fix it. Kudos to Damir for this ABAP adaptation of a koan. I first didn't know how to work with it, but then it was really great. Regular expressions are perfect for unit tests. Start with the test methods and define strings with telephone numbers. Then try to implement the function using regular expressions. Then use more complex strings and expand the regular expressions. SAP programming often is hard not because of the logic, but because of the application and its data. You can use CodeDojo to make programmers get in touch with the user part of SAP. Handling Unix, for example, are very tricky. The usage inside of the SAP standard transaction is also not very intuitive. The side effect here is that programmers have to get in touch with the SAP application. Often they don't, and that makes things harder to explain. So you can choose commonly used objects of your company and do things with them so people know which database tables and puppies can be used to read the data, to change the data. Every contestant can create his or her own equipment, material document, or whatever. The output can also be a table or a list, one step after the other. Really heavy is to collect equal handling units. Now comes the fun part. I prepared the following examples because the common cutters of translating Roman numbers and manipulating SAP objects are too boring. Here's your chance to be creative. Hey Jude! I think everyone knows this song. I found a great flowchart at loveallthis.tumblr.com, which inspired me for this task. I asked my team to programmatically print out the song text of Hey Jude. I used this opportunity to experiment with functional programming and method chaining, something I wouldn't do in productive code unless I know how it really behaves. And as you can see, this looks really weird, and this has some disadvantages, but you have to explore. Minions. Everyone loves minions. To engage my colleagues to come to CodeDojo, I just said, today we build minions. The advantage of this task, everyone knows minions. Everyone knows what they look like, so I didn't have to create a huge description of what they do. Minions have different attributes, number of eyes, heads, hair, accessories, and so on. A perfect example for interfaces and inheritance. You might also use other monsters like Paul Hardy described in his book. Now, this is really my favorite. I had the idea of programming a competition platform for programmers. To invest as little as possible, I let my colleagues program the game in the CodeDojo. I was tired of inventing a new task every week, and the team wanted to have a constant project to work on. Voila, ABAP Dicer was born. First, we wrote the concept, planned the features, and the game loop. After that, we programmed in teams parallel on different parts. I defined in this project that we will strictly use the new SAP style guide without Hungarian notation. Now we have the status that everyone can create its own class and program strategies, test them, and compete with the strategies of his colleagues. Thanks to the random function in SAP that provides seeds, we can make sure that every contestant has the same starting conditions at any time. It's available on GitHub. This program has a lot of potential for further tasks. Smart Forms or Adobe Forms for a proper result display, unit tests for more stability, hit list of current strategies, design a beautiful output for result statistics. Oh, statistics. Whose strategy is constantly getting better, who has the fastest algorithm, who aims the highest score. Have a look at clean code. Prepare the documentation, do better error handling, improve the performance, analyze the performance, and many more. And what about changing the rules? Use 7 dice instead of 5. Roll only once, roll 10 times. What about dice with more values, like in role-play games? As I said, a lot of potential. Let's come to what we learned from doing a CodeDojo. From my view of perspective, it was hard to create one puzzle every week again. I had to have an idea of what we could do, test something, and make sure that it roughly fits in a 2 hours coding session. 2 hours is a very short time, especially if you're working on a bigger project. When I wasn't available, the CodeDojo fell out, so it's better to have 2 persons who are responsible for starting the CodeDojo. We often had some light bulb moments where people understood how things worked, often simple things. If you think there's an experienced programmer, you might wonder how many things he or she isn't able to do or hasn't heard about. If there's really an expert on that topic, that expert will be a big help for the others. Richard Feynman once said, "When one teaches, two learn." How true. At least you get known to your colleagues in a total different way. Be surprised. What tips can I give you if you want to start your own CodeDojo? Well, at first, find at least one person that is responsible for preparation and execution of the sessions. Make sure that your management supports this workshop. If not, do it in your spare time after work. Do sessions constantly every week on a fixed date. Experiment with different types of programming, like pair programming, remote mob programming, and so on. Agree upon respecting the clean code paradigm. Give and request feedback after every session. Discuss the solutions, the learnings, and the methods. If something didn't work out the first time, try again and again. If it still doesn't fit, try something else. Conclusion. As a result of 4 years of CodeDojo, I can say that it really makes fun to code with the colleagues, share knowledge, and improve programming skills. When you are often coding, you get addicted to the task. You want to solve the problem, and you get inspired by your colleagues. You can use the CodeDojo for whatever you want. Talk about new ABAP features, discuss current programming problems, learn programming techniques such as design patterns or CDS views, solve ABAP community coding challenges, for example. This is the end. If you like this session, please donate to Girls Who Code, which is supported by SAP Online Track. Thank you for your attention. See you at the next Inside Track